Welcome to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Andrew Stillwell, joined this week by Eric Woolley and Shane Joseph. How's it going, guys?
Not bad.
Not bad.
How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. I'm really good. Big news week last week, and in the nature of podcasting, there's always a lot of news to talk about. So we'll start with a listener question that's about a timely news item. Our friends over at the Drunk Riders podcast, and if you're not listening to them, check them out wherever podcasts are found. They are asking us, what do we think about the new B&M stand-up patent? And for those who aren't aware, last week B&M released a new patent for a stand-up coaster, train, car, seat. I'm not an engineer. I can't exactly tell what it's for. But it's new. It's kind of different than their existing stand-up cars. But guys, what do you think about these patents?
I think it basically looks pretty similar to the existing stand-up coasters. The biggest difference looks like the restraint system. It looks like the restraints on their wing coasters, so sort of the like vest kind of thing, but with the sort of bars that come down. So still over the shoulder, but with less giant plastic things next to your head. It sounds like in the patent there is maybe also some description of some changes in how the actual... if you've been on a stand-up coaster, you know that the seats kind of go up and down and then lock into a place, and there's sort of a ratchet system, and it sounds like maybe the patent has those being a hydraulic, so there's maybe a little more play in that. I don't know. It's sort of... I feel like my complaints with stand-up coasters are not necessarily related to... Well, no. The over-the-shoulder restraints on stand-up coasters are pretty terrible. But I feel like that's not... The ones that were bad, that was maybe not the only source of them being uncomfortable. So I don't know if I think it will make stand-ups any better. Although I feel like the stand-ups that are left are also pretty good. At least Riddler's Revenge is the only one left that I've been on, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. That's the only one I've been on, too. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. If that locking system is hydraulic, though, that'll at least be a little more, have more range, I guess, and how comfortable it is, like depending on how tall you are or whatever. But I am glad. I mean, the vests are more comfortable than the regular over-the-shoulder, so that will probably help a little with that, too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the vest restraints. Eric, you said there's not a lot of bad stand-ups left. You have ridden Vortex at Carowinds, right?
I may have skipped it when we were there. No, I probably did ride it. I think I thought it was gone.
I don't like saying bad things about Carowinds, but if Vortex closed tomorrow and they bulldozed it, I would not miss it. But those vest restraints on the new restraints, they look great. The thing that's going to bother me and probably a large majority of our male audience, if you look at the patent, there is a figure 205 that looks like a bike seat. Figure 205 is the same on pretty much every stand-up coaster there is, and forces in certain ways affect people in different manners, I think is the political way to say this. But yeah, I think that's why stand-up coasters aren't as comfortable. So we'll see if this new seat can fix that problem a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's the nicest way to describe it without being too graphic.
We've learned Andrew doesn't ride bikes regularly either, I think, from this. I think maybe the most interesting thing about it, though, is that it means that the stand-up coaster concept is not completely shelved, which I think, had you asked me a couple years ago after they had started converting a bunch to floorless coasters and they hadn't built a new one, and I have no idea how long, whenever Georgia Scorcher was opened, late 90s, so I was sort of surprised to see that they're doing anything with stand-ups. There was one in the article we have about it that John wrote. He mentioned that there had been some rumors that maybe SeaWorld Orlando was going to get a stand-up coaster because they filed trademark or something for a surfing coaster. And maybe there were like permit applications, and so there's now some thought of, could this be a new stand-up coaster design for a surfing coaster? Although I don't think that a surf-themed coaster needs to be a stand-up, as Hang Time demonstrates.
It's a good point. Well, it was, last week, as we said, was a big news week, and not only did we get those lovely B&M patents, but we finally discovered that Universal Orlando was not building a giant churro stand or a Osprey sanctuary. They finally announced their new roller coaster, which opens next year at Islands of Adventure. Eric, what did we actually learn from the announcement, and what do we know so far about the ride?
Yeah, so they, I think it was actually also announced on Monday, and I feel like they accidentally maybe leaked something on the website over the weekend or on Friday. So we know the official name is the Jurassic World VelociCoaster, which I think that was VelociCoaster was what lots of people were calling it already. It is, I think, not surprisingly that it's Jurassic World themed. We know that the Jurassic World has sort of replaced Jurassic Park stuff out here in Hollywood. I think that hadn't happened yet in Orlando, right?
Nope.
So
Not yet.
This is maybe the first step to that. So it's an Intamin multi-launch coaster. I think 2 launches. The press release talked about it being themed to racing through like raptor paddocks. I assume this will be a similar concept to all Jurassic Park rides. Raptors have broken out of their paddock, and you'll be chasing them or running from them. I think for those of you who've seen Jurassic World, the Raptor Blue, I think featured in the teaser promo. So I assume there will be some Blue. There will probably be some Chris Pratt talking at us throughout it. It is opening in summer 2021, was what they said, and we're looking at 12 road trains. So
24
yeah,
past
12 by 2, 70 mile per hour max speed. So that's going to be the fastest coaster at Universal, I think, just slightly past Hulk. 4,700 feet long in total, so slightly shorter than Hagrid, but still one of the on the longer end of Intamin rides. The top hat that we've all seen pictures of is 155 feet tall. The drop down it is actually 80 degrees, so it's not a full 90-degree drop on the top hat like you get with the Top Thrill Dragster kind of size ride. Foreign versions, I think there's one that's they're calling some sort of inverted stall, the barrel roll over the lake that we've seen, and then there's must be a couple others mixed in there that I'm not sure exactly what they are. We got sort of a partial POV video, but we did not get a full. And there's been lots of photos everywhere on the internet, but I don't know if we've seen an actual full layout from overhead yet. There's probably one floating around by some Orlando blogger, but exciting that they actually announced it finally. From the first impressions of watching it, any first impressions from watching the POV and seeing the teaser? Maybe Shane, start with you.
I loved it. First of all, I'm super excited because I love Jurassic World. I love those movies. I always like to watch them. So this is really exciting, especially because this is an Intamin ride, which I love Intamin. I love their launch coasters. This looks sort of like a step up from Hagrid's, which they opened, I think, last year. So it's kind of a more intense version of that. I think kind of Hagrid, Maverick, and Cheetah Hunt all kind of combined into one ride. I think it's really interesting that they've announced this with the Jurassic World theme, but haven't changed anything else in the land yet. I don't know if they are going to do it by the time this opens. If I were to guess, I would say they would. I don't know if I would necessarily want that, though, because I love the River Adventure ride with the Jurassic Park theme. I've also been on the Jurassic World one at Universal Hollywood. I like that one just as much, but I think for me this is kind of like a Tower of Terror Guardians of the Galaxy situation where I like that there's one classic one and one updated one, but I don't know how well that would fit with the overall theme of the land when it comes to the theming, and obviously they're different time periods and everything like that. So I think I'm very curious to see what they end up doing with how they theme the land as a whole. But overall, I think this looks like it's going to be a fantastic addition to Universal. It's perfect ride for that park, and I think it's going to be a huge, huge hit.
I agree. Obviously, you guys, you know as well as I do, I've given my fair skepticisms of Intamin in the past, and I'm not the world's biggest Intamin fan, but I think VelociCoaster is going to be fantastic, and Universal, they've got a home run on their hands with this new ride. The whole area looks great, like you said, Eric. There's pictures all over the internet. You can get not super close, obviously, but close enough, like through the leaky cauldron has a patio area in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where you're super close to the track. When the Jurassic World Discovery Center, however they want to brand that, reopens. I think it's closed right now, but when it reopens, the views are going to be amazing from there, from that patio. I'm very excited. I saw the teaser come out on Monday, and very rarely do I see like a 45-second teaser, and I'm like, yes, I need to plan a trip immediately, as soon as possible, on a day where I can go and not have to wait 6 hours in line. So I'm very excited. It's going to get me back down to Orlando, hopefully next year. And I know during the construction, people have kind of been harping on the quote-unquote exposed track, and it looks like they're building a lot of rock work around it now. I think it's going to be beautiful based on the renderings and the POV and the teaser. It's going to be a outstanding coaster, and I don't want to say a shoe-in for top 2 best new coasters of 2021, just because I remember Iron Gwazi is right down the road. But it is going to be a very tight neck-and-neck race between those 2 coasters for best new coaster next year.
Just while we're on that, Andrew, here's a list of some of the things that are opening in 2021, because it's growing, and I'm getting very excited. So we have, just as have been announced now, VelociCoaster, Iron Gwazi, Pantheon, Icebreaker, Jersey Devil, the Tron Coaster at Magic Kingdom, potentially the Guardians of the Galaxy Coaster, and the Avengers land at California Adventure. So there's quite a lot to look forward to next year.
Shane, you're sleeping on Aquaman Power Wave at Six Flags over Texas.
I'm still most excited about getting an actual B&M dive coaster on the West Coast.
Yes, Emperor as well, opening at SeaWorld San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looks very exciting. I think that it's very interesting to me that Universal clearly is content or happy with their relationship with Intamin, even though they've sometimes Intamin almost known for having operational problems when they first opened. But I mean, Hagrid's opening and now this coming 2 years later, which again, I mean, it's not like we didn't know this was happening, but I think it's sort of exciting because I certainly love Blitz coasters, and now that we're getting between this and Pantheon, the first sort of Intamin electromagnetic launch coasters, I guess since Cheetah Hunt, I think in the U.S. at least. And so it's nice to see that they're coming back with more of them, because those are rides that I'm a fan of. I mean, from the teaser itself, I don't know if there was anything like really surprising that we saw in it, but it did look good. I think one of the things I'm most curious about is going to be how themed it is. Andrew, have you been on Hagrid's?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so you're, I think, the only one of us who's been on Hagrid's. I know that Hagrid's has sort of lots of like stopping points where it has show moments, right, or places where it goes slow, and that's obviously going to be much harder on this. It doesn't look like there's going to be as much, so I'm curious as to how much kind of theming they're going to try and integrate with it. I do know that the trains have, in the teaser you can see it, like the trains are really well designed with like LED fronts and a bunch of LED trims that I imagine it will look amazing at night. And I think it's a very blue and black, again, I think theming slightly to blue the Raptor specifically. But I'll be curious to see how they're able to integrate, like, will there be any animatronics? In the teaser, it sort of looks like in the first launch area, you get maybe some of the... it's either, like... It seems like a screen effect that's maybe similar to the... on the new Jurassic World river adventure, the first scene, where it's like, oh, it's projected kind of from behind a screen to make it look like in that case, it's the giant swimming dinosaur running into the glass.
Mosasaurus, yeah.
Thank you, Shane. It looks like maybe something like that has like, oh, you're next to raptor paddocks and the raptors are inside these, and then maybe you see like broken raptor paddocks again. All Jurassic Park rides involve somehow dinosaurs getting out, and you have to do something, I assume, is what's going to be happening. But I'll be curious to see how they're much theming they're kind of able to integrate with the rest of it.
They've got some dinosaurs they've been lowering in via crane. I know the Universal Twitter a couple weeks ago was like, can you guys stop looking up, please? Like, so there's going to be, I don't know if they're animatronics. I don't know if they're static. But if, just down the road at Disney World, they've proven a static animatronic can do just as much work as a animatronic that moves. So just got to put a strobe light on it.
We'll have a Disco Raptor soon. The trains also, they released a picture, I think the day before this announcement came out on their Twitter, that just showed a little bit of the train, like a sneak peek of it. And it looked to me like those headrests had onboard audio in them also. So I think that could be a big part of the theming experience also. If through the headrest you could hear like the raptors, rustling around seemingly next to the car, or they could do, if you're in the enclosure, you can hear them like walking around. So I think there's certainly a lot that they can work with. And just based on the rock work and everything we've seen so far in the teaser, I think the theming is going to be exceptional on this ride.
It is. I mean, I guess the Blitz coasters are kind of designed in a way that, because they're low to the ground and have all this rock work, that you could do a lot of things with. There's lots of spots that I think it would work. I think your first thought was Raptor sounds. My first thought was, onboard audio. Chris Pratt can talk to you through the entire ride instead of just during the launch. My other thought was, there's going to be a second launch. That seems like if you do it like the way Maverick comes to a complete stop in the tunnel on the second launch, is like, that's where you could put some sort of Raptor set piece kind of thing.
Shane, you're thinking Raptor sounds. Eric, you're thinking Chris Pratt. I want those speakers just to play me the original John Williams Jurassic Park score on a loop. I know it has nothing to do with the ride, but that would just be great.
I mean, I am not against that. The main benefit, I think, of when the Incredicoaster, California Screaming got rethemed to the Incredicoaster, was that Michael Giacchino wrote an entire new score similar to the Incredibles theme that played on the ride, and was like, well, that sort of makes it worth it. That's way more fun now.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane, you mentioned this a little bit, but I'm curious about how we think that this, like, how well Hagrid's and this will complement each other, because there's obviously some similarities, although Hagrid's is more family, and it sort of seems like we've actually got 3 rides that are all on a spectrum, from Escape from Gringotts, which is very, like, sort of, there's not a lot of roller coaster in it. It's kind of got roller coaster moments and then big show scenes, and then Hagrid's is kind of the middle, and then now this that will have probably the fewest show scenes but more intense roller coaster. I'm curious what you guys think about how these all sort of complement each other.
Yeah, I think, I think they complement each other very well, and I think they're 2 entirely different rides. Certainly, the concept of 2 launch coasters in a park, it's not a new concept. Obviously, Kings Island and Kings Dominion both have the Flight of Fear and the Backlot Stunt Coaster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, launches can coexist in a park. And I think what this does for Islands of Adventure specifically is it gives it that just, badass thrill coaster that they had with Dueling Dragons, and it's a roller coaster geared more towards the thrill seeker, not necessarily the families. And I mean, Hagrid's is a great ride. It is a very, very fun ride. Even better to do at night. better than other roller coasters with lights on them. The lights on Hagrid work at night still, which is something I really enjoyed when I rode it at night. And these trains look the exact same. Like, they've got multiple lights on them. It's going to make for incredible long exposure photography. So, but I think they complement each other very well, just because Hagrid's is more of that family coaster. It's, Universal calls it a story coaster. It doesn't go faster than 50 miles per hour. It's only got a 48-inch height requirement. And, VelociCoaster with lap bar only restraints, 4 inversions, it's it's going to hit that 54 height requirement, which is kind of the threshold for a thrilling coaster. And there's not that much of a difference between 4 feet and 4.6, but it does require a couple years difference, or a couple of months difference, depending on how fast kids grow, to get from one coaster to the other. VelociCoaster will have some story elements. That Raptor tunnel that you guys were mentioning is going to be, however they decide to do the Raptor moments, if it's screens, if it's animatronics, it will have some show to it, but it's not going to be anything like Hagrid's, because Hagrid's is mostly show, and it's got some animatronics, it's got lots of props, and it's, again, I just think the rides complement each other very well. And it's not an apples to apples comparison. It's just, you've got 2 world-class Intamin roller coasters in the same park that's, 100 yards from each other, which is, as a coaster fan, is fantastic.
And you got the Incredible Hulk there, too, don't forget.
That's true.
Right across the lagoon.
Also a launch coaster, actually.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got 3 there in the same park. This is, now it's unprecedented territory.
One quick thing, I think in one of the announcements, although now I don't remember where I saw it, that they said it's actually going to be a 51-inch height requirement.
Yes.
Really?
I did see that. I was just going to bring that up.
Slightly. Not quite 51.
They said that on Twitter. They brought that up.
So, even whatever age child is 4'3" will be able to ride. I guess, if you guys have any other last thoughts, the last thing I was sort of thinking about was, like I mentioned, we've now got 2 of these Intamin kind of modern blitz coasters opening with Pantheon and VelociCoaster are both opening next year, although Pantheon was originally supposed to be this year, obviously. Do we think we're going to, and the last one was Cheetah Hunt in 2011 in the U.S., do we think we're going to keep seeing more of these, or is this... Are these the only parks that would want to spend the money
on? That's a good question. I would like to see more. I can certainly think of a few parks that could benefit from a good launch coaster like this. Nothing like crazy like an Accelerator or anything, but certainly towards the upper side of the thrill factor. So yeah, I think both of these rides will be really successful. So I could definitely see it expanding to other parks. Maybe not as much of an elaborate layout or as much theming as VelociCoaster, but I definitely think that it's going to be a hit for both of these parks, and other parks are going to look at that and they're going to want something similar, whether it's Intamin or not. I know Vekoma has some similar stuff that they're doing overseas. So depending on what works out with that. This model of coaster is definitely, I think, secure for a few years to come at least.
Yeah, I feel like launches are in right now. And I just, for a while, everybody was trying to be the tallest. And, we were going to break the 200-foot barrier. Then we were going to break the 300-foot barrier. Then we were going to go over 400 feet tall. And then, they tried to be the fastest. And, you had the King Dakars and the Top Thrill Dragsters of the world, crossing that 100-mile-per-hour threshold. And then for a while, it was the steepest. You've got Cannibal Lagoon. You've got the Ninja Turtles coaster, whose name is escaping me, in American Dream, that are like... Shellraiser. Thank you. They've got the Beyond Vertical Drop, which technically, mathematically isn't a thing. But it's, and I think right now, all of these companies, Intamin, Mock Rides, Premier, SNS, they're all doing their own thing when it comes to launch coasters. And obviously, Premier had West Coast Racers. and is going to have Icebreaker. Mach just had Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. Intamin has Pantheon, and
SNS Max Force.
Yeah, SNS has Max Force. Vekoma, they just debuted Fly, which is a launched flying coaster. So I mean, all of these companies, they're kind of pushing the envelope when it comes to launches. And I think if it's not another Intamin, if it's not a Intamin Blitz coaster in the United States, just because, the parks that have installed these are like true coaster parks, which, in the case of Cedar Point, or they're big time tourist destinations, like your Busch Parks or your Universal, obviously. I think if it's not an Intamin Blitz coaster, I think there's certainly a market right now for launch coasters. And even RMC a couple years ago with Lightning Rod.
I guess that was another piece of recent news that Lightning Rod is done for the season again.
Yep.
But yeah, it's I think launch coasters are right now, I think it's the quote unquote it coaster right now. And again, all these companies, they're doing their own thing. They're doing it in different ways. They're doing it in unique ways. And, I think for a couple years we could see more and more launch coasters. And then we go on to the next big thing in coasters, which I don't know what it is. I think it could be inversions. I mean, we tried to do inversions for a while, and then Steel Curtain broke the U.S. inversion record last year. So that could be next. I mean, could we get a 10 inversion coaster in the U.S.? We'll see. But right now it's launch coasters, and I'm excited. I love a good launch coaster. Even despite my Intamin skepticism, I think, like I said, I think VelociCoaster is going to be a home run here.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. It certainly looks very good, and like you said, Andrew, and you, Shane, it's and I think we even mentioned maybe last week, next year will be a good year to try and make an Orlando trip. There's lots of new-ish stuff in the last couple of years to ride in Central Florida. Any last thoughts on it? Obviously, we didn't get a ton from this announcement, the teaser, but anything else you guys want to add?
Can we talk about the trains for a little bit?
Yeah,
I just think those trains look so sleek and so slick. You've got the big good LEDs on the front. You've got the LEDs on each seat that are kind of result in that trail light effect. I think. And again, I'm somebody who doesn't watch a lot of Jurassic World movies, but it just, to me, it fits that Jurassic World, like futuristic. It's not your grandpa's dinosaur theme park. It's very futuristic and it's super sleek. Kind of has that just a great vibe to it, and I love the trains. And I hope the restraints are friendly like Maverick and not unfriendly like Top Thrill Dragster or Millennium Force.
I mean, I think that is definitely seen. I mean, those are the kinds of the trains. Agree, it looks very cool. I mean, both I think stylistically and the color scheme. The color scheme obviously matches the Jurassic World color scheme of like metal gray and blue versus the red and yellow of classic Jurassic Park. I think that's the kind of thing that I feel like the Universal Disney parks spend the extra money to add those touches to the trains that you're less likely to see at other parks. I do think it's very interesting that now, Shane, you had mentioned Tron, and it was like, oh yeah, that's what this looks real similar to. They're both both Florida parks will now have a launch. Tron's a launch coaster, right? So they will now both have LED blue and black launch coasters at them, made by different companies. So that's a Vekoma launch coaster that we'll be getting next year, hopefully.
And Eric, you were talking about spending the money. I know they're in the process right now, I think, or have been for the last week, their pull-through test. They covered that train up, and if you were just going to cover the train to like keep it from being revealed, fine. Just throw up a tarp or whatever over it. I mean, a fitted tarp, obviously. But no, you're gonna go the extra effort, and you're gonna put an InGen logo on there, which is obviously in Jurassic Park lore. It is
that made me very happy.
Best piece of theming that will never make it to the actual ride itself. But while it's going through the pull-through test, it is such a cool little Easter egg feature. I love it.
Yes, that is, a very good detail. Cool. Well, I think that that probably does it for this week. I'm sure we'll talk about this ride more as more details come out about it, or it opens next year, something like that. If anyone out there wants regular updates for it, since none of us are in Orlando, we don't have daily new construction photos, but there are people out there that do. I know at Midway Mayhem on Twitter and Instagram posts all the time. Yep. I know at
he has a lot of good ones.
Reconstruct, I think, is another one. Thrill Geek has lots of photo updates of construction stuff. There's probably tons of others, but if you want to go check some stuff out, those are all good sources that I used for looking at pictures of construction. You can also follow us on social media. We're at Coaster101 everywhere. We hit 10,000 followers on Instagram, so Shane promises that he'll start making some TikToks now. But until we do that,
some brainstorming,
you can find us everywhere else at Coaster101 or a blank TikTok page. If you've got any questions for any of us or any feedback, or send us your thoughts on VelociCoaster, you can email those to podcast@coaster101.com. Also, as always, if you're listening to us, please subscribe, give us a rating or review on whatever platform you're listening to. That helps us. Thank you to JM Music Design, as always, for our theme song, and we will be back next week. Thanks very much, Shane. Thanks, Andrew.
See ya.
Thank you.